else would it be? I'm here to finally update on Sins of Empire, which I finally finished. Took me all month to do that, but I did it. What can I say? What can I say? It's a Powder Mage novel by my love, Bryn McClellan. Well, there's one thing I can say. It's surprisingly little shooting for something that is called the Powder Mage universe, which has magic based on shooting guns. Like, it took until the last 120 pages for a war scenario to actually happen. But oh boy, it happened. Sins of Empire was more political than I thought it would be. Especially given the characters we have. Like, we have Flora, who is a decorated war veteran from the first trilogy, and now she's a mercenary, and she's fighting someone else's war before she gets called back into the city to basically prevent a riot. And then she's dragged into all these mysteries and political storylines and stuff like that. And then we have Ben Stike, who is a disgraced soldier, and he gets freed from prison, basically, from a prison camp, to have an eye on Flora and basically be her bodyguard in secret. So, of course, he goes to her, is like, hey, I need a job, do you have a job for me? And she's like, I guess. And then she sends him on a detective mission to figure out something. So there's that. We have one soldier being anti-riot agents, then we have another soldier who is now a detective, and then we have our third character, which is Michael, who is a spy, who then gets shoved into a detective storyline. There's not a lot of war happening in detective storylines. In fact, there's surprisingly little fighting as a whole in these 600, 700 pages, which I wasn't expecting. It's still a really good book, but having like one tiny fight, having another tiny fight with knives, having a third fight that is over like that. I was like, okay, we're going slow. Which is not a bad thing. This book went slower on the action, yes, but it was still good. There were so many streams crossing left and right and things were happening. Oh, it was still interesting. And then the last 100 pages happen. Oh boy. I'd actually say you could read this as like your first experience with the Powder Mage trilogy. You could. Things are explained enough. But there are many references to what happened in the first trilogy that you probably don't get if you don't read the first trilogy. At least you appreciate them more if you read the first trilogy. There's also the thing that I predicted to be true happened. It came true, but we got the necessary explanation for me to make it. Like, it was explained good enough, well enough to make sense and not be a plot cop-out, which I was afraid of it being. It's still somewhat right time, right place, but it's not unreasonable that this person is at that time in that place. I'm very interested in seeing where this is going. I think that this is going to do the same thing that the first trilogy did, of the books being back to back to back in terms of a timeline, with like just 1 or 2 weeks in between. All of the first trilogy, which is like somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 pages. If you take all 3 books together, all of that happened within like a single year, which is ridiculous. And this too, I'm pretty sure this is also going to be just one continued story throughout 3 books. This was my 5-star prediction for the Seer Path, and guess what? 5 stars. Bam, baby. Bryn McClellan delivering once again. And now I'm going to be sad in European and broke, because Bryn McClellan has started a new Powder Mage Kickstarter for some very, very, very cool looking merch. first broken binding is doing me dirty with a hardcover release of the first trilogy with beautiful artwork on the edges and everything. And now Brian McClellan himself is doing me dirty. Thanks for nothing. Hi, it's me again, coming to you live and in color and a resemblance of flesh with another update on my reading. I've given up the thought of finishing every single quest on the seer path, including the side quests, given it's physically impossible to do that for me at this point. But I at least want to finish the main path. So after finishing Sins of Empire, I started immediately with Fate of the Fallen, and with immediately I mean the next day. And I am now 112 pages into this, and I don't know what to think of this. Legitimately, I have no idea what to think of this. It's bland. It's so bland. Which is somewhat confusing, given that every review is like, oh, what a creative twist on some very normal and boring ass fantasy tropes. Which is also what I thought this would be, given that it says, hey, this guy is the chosen one, but then he dies. That is literally on the blurb. It literally says on the back of this guy is the chosen one, he answers the call, he goes where he needs to go, and on his way there, he dies. So his best friend is picking up the mantle and is trying to salvage shit. Yeah, all of that happened in the first 100 pages, and it's just bland. It's not a bad book, I don't think. It's just nothing happens, and yet at the same time everything happens. It's just, I cannot tell you who these characters are, except for, like, I say characters. We have one, which is the best friend. His characterization after 100 pages? I like trees. Okay, cool. So you're Aragon with, I guess, social anxiety. Cool. The chosen one? Absolute fucking asshole. I'm glad he died. There is a magic grandma who is not a grandma in there. She's a bitch. Of the stupid variety. Then we have a weird ghost spy lady. I don't know what her job is. Like, we got 2 parts of her perspective and she's just hanging around watching. Fucking ghost stalker. Now we met this nobleman where I'm like, oh yeah, he is somewhat nice. Like, I liked him. I liked his whole thing. But apparently he leaves after like 2 pages. He was in the last chapter, so I don't know where this is going, so there's that. Literally, the best character so far is the horse. And the horse is an idiot. That's literally the horse's name. It refuses to turn left. It gets stuck on pieces of grass. It tried to eat a porcupine because it thought it was grass. It also started nibbling on the tail of another horse. I do, however, think the horse knows what's going on, because there was a very well-placed, well-timed kick. I don't trust the horse, but the horse so far, the idiot horse so far, is the best character. What I didn't know was that there would be gods involved, as in, like, we actually get stuff from their perspective. And yes, they are arrogant pricks. But so far I like them, next to the horse, the most. And I don't know where this is going. Because the prologue tells me there's something going on like the White Walkers from Game of Thrones. But then we make like a flashback to this, like the whole story is actually how the White Walkers happened, I guess. I think there is a war between the gods going on, between the god of war and the god of death. But I'm not quite sure because they are somewhat allied, but they also hate each other. then apparently this takes place on a different planet because the world builder just built the Earth, and the goddess of nature is now very happy that she can restart humanity and like iron out the kinks. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. It's, I also don't know what to think of the writing style. The bitchy magic grandma that is not a grandma, she info dumped the most complicated things, and also the way she info dumped about magic sounds as if, hey, I'm dropping this information here now so that later you don't think it's plot armor. Problem being, it does sound like plot armor already. Like, this is not seeding information very well. It's literally just like, in this info dumping that should excuse some plot armor later on, she seeded something that it's not even foreshadowing. It's like having a floodlight and a neon sign pointing, this is information you need later for the plot twist. And I'm like, okay. Now here's the thing. I want to know what happens next, which is very weird given all of these things I just said about the book. Like, I'm not enjoying reading this, but I'm also not hating it. I wouldn't call myself invested. And yet, this book is confusing me on so many levels. We'll see if my opinion is going to change on all of these things, or if it just gets worse. I'm not ready to DNF this yet, and I don't know why. I am confusion. It's me again, with another update 48 hours before this readathon is over. And I'm going to DNF Fate of the Fallen. Why am I going to DNF Fate of the Fallen? Because since the last update, absolutely nothing happened. Except the fact that this curiosity of what is going to happen next completely faded. I am so not interested in what is going on in this book. I made it to 63%, so I can still count it as read for the prompt featuring a prophecy in my seer path, so I'm on the clear in that regard, but the last update was around the 100-page mark. This is almost on page 300, and absolutely nothing changed. I just got introduced to another character that is just as unlikable as everyone else in here. All the side characters disappear for like long stretches of times, and they are not doing anything until they show back up. But even when they're there, they're not doing shit. And our main character is still as whiny as he was 200 pages ago. Best character is still the fucking horse? I don't know, like nothing in here is of interest anymore. Nothing. I mean, it hasn't been of interest before. There was just this weird kind of intrigue that I couldn't place. And that has completely vanished, so now this book is just a bunch of words on paper that kind of make sense but are not of any kind of interest. So I'm DNFing this at 63%, and I don't know, I don't think I'm going to start with the side quest because again the readathon is basically over, so I think I'm just going to read whatever the fuck I want for the last couple of days. We'll see where that ends me. Yes, end me. End my suffering of reading this book. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find some books that I can read in 2 days now. Or book, singular. I don't know. See you in the next update. The last day of the Adventurerathon readathon was a success like none other. Because I read 5 books in one day. Well, books. None of them were over 100 pages. That's what made this possible. But it's still 5 things, 5 completed stories that I read. And I did so on stream. These are the books that I read. All of them were better than Fate of the Fallen, in my opinion. I was entertained. There were even some 5 stars in there. And all in all, the last day of the Adventurerathon was very successful because of these 5 books, I managed to check off 3 of the 4 side quests in one go. So I didn't even plan on fitting them on the side quest prompts. I just went through my vast ebook library to check off some stuff. Like I basically picked out every novella that I had that was under 100 pages, which were these 5, and I read them. And then I realized after the fact that I could put 3 of those into the side quest prompts. So there is that, which made this month my best reading month this year so far, and it's probably going to stay like that. Amazing. So yeah, last day was mostly spent on stream, 9.5 hours. We were all very exhausted at the end of that, but it was fun. Adventurerathon was fun. So here's to the next round, which is going to be in January, I believe. Kirsty is going to put out an announcement video in December, I think, as far as I'm aware. That's it. That's the Readathon. That's the second vlog about this adventure. Now comes the time where I'm going to take things more easy in terms of reading. Not necessarily in writing, because let's face it, NaNoWriMo, which I'm participating in this year, as I have done in the past couple of years, NaNoWriMo is a complete different can of worms when it comes to the madness attached to it. But yeah, from now on I will slow down my reading after so many books that have been consumed in the past couple of months. So yeah, that's it. I had fun. I hope you had fun. I hope we're all going to have fun together in the future. Yeah. Bye.